TK, it was right there. It was right fucking there. Oh, roll it. Roll the fucking intro.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really wanna.
So, I never really wanted to make one of these videos for AEW, but again, we got to keep that same energy, and it is what it is. But we'll get into the whole AEW aspect as we go through these topics, and then we'll address AEW specifically later on. But let's go ahead and get the necessary shit out of the way. I feel like this shit is just, I don't know if it's in the way or you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. You can deal with seeing part of my face here and there. It's not gonna fucking matter. Anyway, we have to discuss the Bobby Fish issue. And I use the term issue loosely because a lot of what he said was not wrong. Nothing of what he said was wrong. Now granted, I believe there's a time and place when you say stuff like this. I think, you know, especially when you talk about booking for a company that you are currently employed and under contract with. Yeah, you might want to keep that under wraps or between yourself and the person that's employing you. But at the same time, this is not a new issue. It's something that has been going on for a while now, over the past few years, over the inception, since the inception of AEW. And it's only gotten worse, and it's only going to get worse if things do not fix themselves, or somebody doesn't, or if someone doesn't intervene and fix those issues. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure all of you have heard, read, or seen or caught wind of what was said by Bobby Fish along the lines of him going to bat or going to war for Triple H, and he would gladly do it, no problems, as well as the booking issues for himself within AEW. And again, it's no surprise. I mean, we've heard it first from Joey Janela, then we heard it from Brian Cage, then the whole thing with Stu Grayson leaving and him kind of saying the same thing. And then most recently outside of that would be the whole Jonathan Gresham thing. And, a lot of us who are big AEW fans want to sit here and say, hey, these guys, it's all sour grapes. They're mad they weren't good enough to be utilized like this. Not, we have to debt that. We have to debt that whole phrasing, because one, Jonathan Gresham is not a bad wrestler. He's a good in-ring performer, but his character and charisma is something lacking. Stu Grayson, him and Evil Uno, fantastic tag team. I think they should have been utilized more. Joey Janela is not bad. He's a good hand to have. Brian Cage looks good. Again, same thing with his whole promo and character ability. You put him with somebody, though, and he's good. But, they were signed for a reason. So my thing is, if they're signed for a reason, then you need to utilize them as such. They were utilizing Evil Uno and Stu Grayson good in the beginning, and I think that is the main thing that happens, is that people get used very well in the beginning, and it seems like they're on a good trajectory to go up and then to be utilized good later on. The problem is, especially with the whole AEW situation, is things get lost in the shuffle when you tend to have new toys to play with it. It's almost like the Vince McMahon effect, which is ironic in that case. And a lot of people won't want to agree with me on that, but I mean, it's the same exact thing. Think about the time. Think about how it was when Vince McMahon had went and signed all these people just because he was afraid of them going elsewhere, and all these contracts were being renewed, and everybody was getting all this good pay. But he got all these people, and he did not use them all. It's like he just was hoarding talent, and that is the potential issue that can happen with AEW. Now, the whole Bobby Fish issue, same thing with him. When he came in, he was utilized nicely as a singles competitor. He came in, got the match with Sammy Guevara, and then continued on from there. And this is, I can't remember if this was before. Yeah. It was before they got Cole and O'Reilly. So he was utilized fine. And I think they should have kept that going to lead in to once Cole and O'Reilly came in. But the issue is same thing. They kind of got stagnant with him when they could have utilized him, because I mean, look at how they used O'Reilly. O'Reilly was used perfectly and still is. I mean, I think they utilized O'Reilly up to the point where he got injured and was taken out, for who knows how long at this point. But he was utilized fine. And I don't understand why you didn't do the same thing with Bobby Fish because there was no excuse not to utilize him like that. You had no, undisputed elite at the time. You had him by himself, and he could have been utilized as a good heel, So there's no excuse for that. The same thing, just like I started this whole fucking thing off with, was this. You could have easily segued right into the history of Red Dragon and where they and how they got to prominence at this point, especially when you have a team like FTR. You could have been building like it seems like they just wanted this whole Young Bucks FTR feud so bad, when you could have had this. This could have easily, FTR and Red Dragon could have easily been a feud that you could have just made money hand over fist with. And it's unfortunate that you didn't go that route, especially when you already have the blueprint for that from NXT. You're already getting all of these NXT transplants. I'm pretty sure you've known the history, not only outside of NXT, but during, especially with the Black and Gold era. And that's the problem there. You want to rehash all these things, with the Undisputed Elite, the whole Malakai Black situation where, the whole eye situation that they had with WWE. It's, why not just go ahead and just take that too, renew that feud, revitalize it, and then make it better. It's not a hard thing to. I mean, you would have done Red Dragon a lot of justice by allowing them to do what they're best at, and that's O'Reilly and Fish being one fantastic fucking tag team, and them against FTR would have been a barn burner, no question. But the fact that, and I don't know if they were trying to wait to pull the trigger on the Young Bucks and FTR feud to get that back to prominence, but you could have easily had this as a buffer in between, and then you could have easily segued into whatever's going to happen with Undisputed Elite and the regular Elite. So it's a stupid problem to have, because this is easily avoidable, but we'll never get that, because I thought yesterday I was under the assumption that they were just gonna run Fish's contract out, and they were gonna do like something to segue him leaving, like do one last hurrah in AEW. But his contract's expired. He's gone. His contract officially expired on, I believe it was the 30th of August. So yeah, that's I'm sure he'll go to WWE. It sucks because he could have been. This could have helped him gain more heat in a good way. I don't mean like bad heat. He could have gained more traction going into WWE with a fantastic like AEW resume with the way that he was utilized, but he wasn't utilized well. And the fact that he is accident prone is going to be problematic because it's the same like situation with Samoa Joe. You know, Samoa Joe's not on TV, and it was the same thing with him beating WWE. But it's going to be the reverse effect because how Vince thought Samoa Joe was accident prone and didn't utilize him. It's almost the same thing with AEW. You know, he hasn't been utilized, so it's like once he goes back to WWE, is he just going to be used as enhancement talent? You know, he's not going to be able to have the bookend of his run as a professional wrestler as a fantastic one if he's not utilized correctly. And if he's accident prone, it's going to make that even less likely. So I just did this was a bad move on Tony Khan's part for sure. Um, another bad move on Tony Khan's part is the Malakai Black situation. Now, there are the rumors that Malakai asked for his release and got denied. I don't know how true that is, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. You know, my main issues was the issue that I've had from the very beginning. And that's with the booking of both Malakai Black as well as the House of Black. I think you have this again. This is another situation where it's a stupid problem to have because it's an easily fixable situation. House of Black and Malakai Black should have been dominant across the board. There's no excuse because the talent within House of Black, as well as the aesthetics, the packaging, everything is fantastic. The only problem with this is the fucking booking. You can say what you will about Vince McMahon and the way that he's run things with creative and how he has done things. But when it's something that he believes works and it does work, he capitalizes on it. You know, you could take the Roman Reigns thing, regardless of how Roman Reigns was built up and how he was forced along the way. Once he realized what worked, he ran with it. Now, granted, he may run shit into the ground, but when something works, it works. There's no excuse to have the House of Black shit fall flat. There's no excuse because everything is right there. You have everything right there. I don't know what they plan to do, but you have all of them under contract. So this is a situation that can be rectified. And I implore Tony Khan, I implore AEW Creative, I implore anybody booking the shit to do right by this because there is no reason that we should have these trios matches where they're not dominant, where we get these trios matches and it gets stagnant. That whole thing with the with Death Triangle and how they ran that into the fucking ground, no excuse for it. It should not have been done like that. It should not have gone on that long. You have Brody King, you have Buddy Matthews, you have Malakai Black. Julia Hart is a whole nother situation, but I'm not worried about that. But you have three fantastic talents that can be utilized, and then they're not gonna run over each other because of booking. They're so vastly different from one another as individuals that you could book them separately and have success across the board. So again, there's no excuse for it. And one of the main problems, and this goes back to the whole Bobby Fish thing, and the Stu Graysons, the Joey Janela's, the Brian Cages, the Jonathan Greshams. Tony Khan right now is basically doing too much at once. Because if you go back and you look at the way things were during the inception of AEW, it seemed as though they had a plan. And that plan went fantastic, with building up Hangman, with the whole thing with Omega and Hangman, and Omega's heel turn, and the Bucks, and then building into FTR, and just everything for those first 2 years. It seemed like, okay, this is our foundation. We're building up upon this. This is what we're doing. Long-term booking. And then all of a sudden, once he started acquiring more people to use, started acquiring more talent, Vince McMahon effect, you started getting all these people, and it's almost like you're trying to serve everybody else instead of serving the story. And it should, and I don't care what anybody says. There's no talent bigger than the overall creative process. Oh, there's no talent that's bigger than what the plan should be moving forward. There should always be a plan in place, and there should be no one talent that interrupts whatever's supposed to be happening. You know, this is an issue, and I want to move off of that, because I mean the whole House of Black thing, it's gonna be something that we kind of have to wait to see, because of the fact that they're also under contract and they actually have a chance. This, matter of fact, this right here will be what makes or breaks the downtrend of AEW. Because if they can't fix this with them still under contract, then I don't know how much I can go to bat for AEW, because at a certain point we have to be realistic about it. I support AEW full on, and I'm not going to stop supporting them, but they're going to start catching more flack if they don't fix the problems that are obviously there. So yeah, so we'll have to see how that goes, because that's nothing about that is finalized yet. It's a rumor if Malakai is asking for his release, and then two, there's still time to fix whatever bad booking is in place with Malakai as well as the House of Black. So, but speaking of obvious issues, Mr. Khan, a lot of what's going on is due to Tony Khan. Now, granted, we can praise him for being one of us. We can praise him for allowing us to have an alternative in the professional wrestling landscape. We can praise him for the partnerships that he's had with Impact, NWA, New Japan, ROH, so on and so forth. And that's fine. We can pray, because those things are definitely praiseworthy. But we can't ignore the certain issues. And that's the fact that, for one, outside of all like the backstage rumors and everything else that could be potentially going on, the whole talking point of lack of structure is very apparent. And when you watch these shows, you can see it. You can see that there's starting to be a loosening, a loosening of control, so to speak. Like, you can tell that a lot of Tony Khan's favorites, it seems like they can get away with stuff here and there. Like, For example, and I'm not saying that this is exactly what happened, but if you look at the whole thing with Punk and Moxley, think about that time when Punk was cutting his promo, then Moxley came out, and then Punk just basically started doing Snow Angels, started singing Wild Thing while Mox was coming, like basically interrupting the whole aesthetic of Mox's entrance. Now, there's nothing to that. I'm using it as an example because I want you to take this into consideration. Punk as one of TK's favorites. You know, him doing something like that, like if let's say he wasn't supposed to do that at all. It's almost like a slap in the face to the overall process of what's going on. It's like I can do what I want, I can say what I want without any repercussions because I know that I'm cool with the big man. I know I can get away with this. That's why I use that as an example because when you take those things into consideration, it helps you see a lot of the issues that's going on within AEW. You can see it in a lot of the ring work. If there's somebody who has an issue with somebody else, you can see it within that ring work, within the match. You can see how certain creative things will tend to happen. And all of a sudden there's like wait, what the fuck was this? Or how did this happen? Why did this happen like this? And then of course, and later on, you'll hear certain things about what could be potentially going on. But when you look at things like ROH, for instance, this is one of the other main problems because the problem with ROH is that there was hype behind the announcement of when Tony Khan said, "Oh yeah, we bought out Ring of Honor. We got that. So it's ours now. It's now going to be basically a subsidiary of AEW." So when you have that hype and everybody's excited about it, and you don't necessarily capitalize on it, because yeah, you had what, 2 pay-per-views. That's fine. That's a-okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's cool. But the problem is that you have all this talent and you have an established company that you can utilize. At that point, there's no need for an AEW Dark. There's no need for an AEW Dark Elevation. You take those 2 away, and now you have ROH. You can have Ring of Honor, Dynamite, and Rampage. You're already utilizing these titles from ROH. Why not build a show around that? And then you can take the talent that's not being used and put them on that show. It's as simple as that. Nobody's watching Dark or Dark Elevation. I can't tell you the last time that I watched it. Nothing wrong with those shows, but why? You already have basically now 4 AEW shows, 2 on YouTube. So why not take that? Because ROH was already on YouTube too. But it's already an established name. People are actually going to watch that, especially if you integrate the already established talent within Ring of Honor. I don't understand how this is a hard concept to just grasp. And I'm not saying that, nobody in the back or in creative have not grasped the concept, but if it's not something that we're seeing or something that we see that's in the works, then we're automatically going to have the assumption that, okay, well, nothing's being utilized. You defend the titles here and there, and that's fine. But I mean, come on. Nothing has been consistent with a lot of what's going on. I mean, take this for instance. You've had Samoa Joe not on TV, yet there's no interim for the television. This is why I had that whole situation with the interim titles when I talked about it on the last Dizzle moment. There's no consistency. It's like, so do ROH titles not adhere to that ruling? Samoa Joe has only defended that title against Jay Lethal. And he's been out, not on TV, nothing. It's the same issue that happened with Mercedes Martinez, where you had her win that title and then just basically had her. She's nowhere to be found too. So you see the inconsistencies of what's going on here. Dante Martin's another one. You were utilizing him perfectly fine, and then you started getting more people. He went to the wayside. This is why you have all these people coming out of the woodwork saying that there's no structure, bad booking is in place, everything. On top of that, the pacing of each show has gone down. There were points where we would watch AEW, watch Dynamite throughout the weeks, but you know what? I can't wait to see what happens next week. And there's still some of that here and there, but I mean, at this point, the rumors of what's happening backstage seem to be more newsworthy and more entertaining than some of the shows, and that should not be the case. That's a problem. And I hate saying that because, again, I love watching AEW. You know, I love the creative process that had been in place. I love the fact that everything was different. I love the fact that you were utilizing people that weren't being utilized in other companies, and you found a way to do it better. But the problem here is, and this is what everybody, even the AEW stands, should understand fully. And that's the thing, that everything can look fan-fucking-tastic when everything else is shit. You got to understand that. Because thinking about when AEW first came out, it was the alternative to what bullshit WWE was putting out. Everybody complained about the booking at WWE. It wasn't watchable. It was laughable, nonsensical. They were making bad decisions. And AEW had the alternative. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was a palate cleanser for all the shit that WWE was feeding us. And we loved it. And at the same time, they were still making good moves. Story-wise, creative, everything. But now that you have Triple H back in control, in full control of WWE creative across the board, now you're starting to see what happens when somebody who's been in this business, who knows what they're doing, is now showing you the contrast. And so everybody that was in love with AEW Black and Gold can now see that on a weekly basis across potentially 3 shows and pay-per-views along the way. So if AEW, Tony Khan, their creative, their booking team, if they can't figure out what their issues are and rectify them, it will be a downward spiral and a slow death for AEW. So I implore you, AEW, Tony Khan, don't turn AEW into WCW. Because right now, you are at the point where it's post-Attitude Era, and WWE has everything riding on full cylinders right now. And they are in the process of being what they have been and what they should have been for a long time. Be the fantastic alternative that everybody needs, and not something of yesteryear that went down in a blaze of fucking glory. But either way, I hate that I had to make this content regarding AEW, because I want to come on here and I want to praise AEW. I want to praise WWE too. We're gonna get to that over the course of the weekend, especially with everything that's going on. But yeah, man, it's it's getting to the point where you're gonna have a lot more people start to complain about AEW, and you're gonna make the super Jim Cornette's correct in their criticisms of AEW. And it's not to say Cornette is wrong in a lot of things. Cornette's right. Cornette is right about a lot of things, but he has an inherent bias, and I really just want AEW to do what's right for the company, for the community, just in general. So, with that said, whether you love the shit, hate the shit, don't forget to rate the shit, thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave all your comments, concerns, questions down below. You see everything rolling on the crawl down there. Go ahead and follow each and every one of us. Need to connect with us, contact us. You know where to hit us. But with that said, until you see this handsome face and hear this immaculate voice, I bid you all adieu. Until next time, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mother effers. Tag the fucketh out.
Dollars make a way to make a change. Gotta be insane to make them same mistakes again. So